Greetings. Thank you for joining in. We at Ukraine Media Center to Inform continue our work. It's the 204th day of the heroic resistance of the Ukrainian nation, and I thank everyone who tells the truth and covers our resistance. So we'll talk about the situation in Kherson region. We have Dmytro, the head of Beryslav Raion Council. Hello. Dmytro, so first and foremost, what is the humanitarian situation in Davydiv Brid village and in other villages located nearby, which fall under your Raion Council? So, in the great Beryslavsky Raion, the most part of it is still under occupation. We do have some progress. The army has liberated the Kochubiyevka, Vysokopilka community and part of the Veliko-Alexandrovsk community and another one. So now people come back to those villages, they start repairing the damaged houses, despite occasional shelling by the occupiers. But our people are unbreakable. They are preparing for winter, so they are mending their houses, and the situation is slightly easier in this aspect. Also, we have international organizations that help with roofing, with all the construction materials which are needed. The city of Beryslav, the center of the Raion, and other occupied places, the situation is worse there. And there are difficulties with bread because there's no natural gas and no electricity. Well, it's there occasionally, but most of the time it's absent. There has been no natural gas supply for 3 months. There hasn't been phone communication since the beginning of the war, and people, well, still mostly use Ukrainian currency. They can buy something, but all the goods are brought in only from Kherson, and the villages near Beryslav, they go and buy food in Beryslav. This is the situation. The hospital is working. Some of the doctors evacuated, but some stayed, so they do provide some service to the community. But unfortunately, other agencies are not working. So we've seen that Russians, they in the occupied territories, they commit lots of crimes towards the occupied population. So what do you hear from people? Do they see crimes like that with regards to themselves? What do those who are in de-occupied territories tell you? And if you have some communication with those who so far are under occupation, what's going on there? Yesterday, I had a conversation with the hospital manager in Veliko-Alexandrovka, and he said that the occupier, like recently, they came in, they broke all doors, they broke all the safe boxes, the places where the narcotics were supposed to be stored. They were none, but still they broke in, and they run people away from their houses. They conduct lawlessness all over community. In all the smaller villages, in all the shops have been looted and damaged. Often they take away people's cars, so the situation is well, not very good. Dmytro, we know that yesterday the occupier has shelled the dam in Kryvyi Rih, and this caused flooding in Ingulets. Did it reach Davydiv Brid? Did it reach your Raion? I don't have information on Davydiv Brid, so I can't tell you anything about this. Okay. So now we will take questions from the audience. Colleagues, Victoria Nakonichna from Ukrinform. I have several questions. Which part of Beryslav Raion is deoccupied? What is the share of the area? Well, I would say 15%. About 15%. This is Novovorontsovka community, Kochubeyevska community is deoccupied, Vysokopilska is deoccupied, and part of the Alexandrovska, the one where there's Davydiv Brid and so on. So the government has been recommending to people to evacuate from, even from the occupied areas, because the shelling continues. Do you organize evacuation of people from the occupied territories, and those who stay? Do they get some humanitarian aid, like food or medicine? Indeed, the government organizes free of charge evacuation. Even in the occupied, if there's a contact person, we can arrange it, and whenever it's possible, we take people out. Also, there are people who reach us for humanitarian aid. They bring something back to the village. Dmytro, at this moment, people who stay in the occupied territories, can they go to the Ukraine-controlled territories? Well, it's quite an extreme thing. It's quite risky. And only through some very courageous people who know the area well, they can come through and come back. But we don't have any official green corridor. Everything is shelled and so on. What is the scale of destruction in the village of Davydiv Brid? Let me tell you the following. Even if we're not talking about Davydiv Brid, in all the occupied territories, there are a lot of destruction. The enemy hits hospitals, kindergartens, marketplaces. Just they can shell civilians easily. So lots of things are damaged. The roofs, the walls, and the buildings. A lot of destruction. And my last question. You've mentioned that the occupiers are chasing people from their houses. Do you have any information about other crimes of Russia against the peaceful population? For example, in Kharkiv region, there were also mass killings. I don't know about that. Well, this is a question for the law enforcement more. So far, I don't know much about this. Dmytro, according to your assessment, how many people are remaining in the occupied territory of Beryslav Raion Council? If you know the percentage, that would be good. So how many of them stay? In the Raion, we've had 101,000. How many stay at the moment is difficult to say, but if we look at Novovorontsovka, there were like 6.5 thousand population. Now I would say 400. But during the last week, people started coming back. So out of 6,500, you've had 400 remaining. Yes, that's the correct ratio. Because, well, the village has been shelled, the hospital has been partly destroyed, and there are a lot of houses burned down completely. So this is how it is. Thank you, Dmytro. Thank you so much for joining in, for finding time. I would like to remind you that we had Dmytro Slyvchenko, the chair of Beryslav Raion Council. Dear colleagues, thank you for staying with us. Follow our announcements, and glory to Ukraine.